And I'm Carrie Champion. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it. A handshake for you two first before we begin.
What are they saying? Did somebody say Tebow?
I did hear that.
Yes.
Let me tell y'all something. We will not be doing this. I'm going to show you how serious I am. I spot somebody up in here wearing a Tebow jersey. Here's all I got to say. My big boy, Security Jay. Come up in here, man.
Uh-oh.
Get him. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. I want him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out of here.
Don't leave.
No.
Don't leave. You got to stay here. Don't fall.
We will not be talking about guys for Super Bowl week that didn't even make the roster. Stick them in the bathroom for the time being.
Yes.
Stick them in the bathroom. Enough of this. We will not be talking about the Super Bowl week.
You are the one who always brings up Tebow on this show because you are a closet Tebow fan. You know that.
Oh, really?
And that was so disrespectful, what you just did to that young man.
He's locked in the bathroom.
He will be free.
In the bathroom.
As soon as I get my security team in here to take out your one big security guy.
Nobody's taking out Jay.
Yeah.
I might be nice, but he needs to be locked in the bathroom.
Yesterday we warned our audience, if you talk about Tebow, you did actually threaten to throw people out.
I told you I would.
It's uncomfortable right now. We'll see if the kid can come back.
I'll let him come back.
Coming up on the show, we have Osi Umenyiora joining us, as well as Martellus Bennet and some other special guests. We don't want to talk about it just yet, but we'll have to get their Super Bowl picks. Now, I need to see by a show of T-shirts who's supporting the Broncos, who's supporting the Seahawks. Raise them up, guys. All right, it's
about 50-50.
About 50-50. You got a nice mixed crowd. We want to know what you at home think. Go to Twitter and give us your picks at Fîrst Take Picks. Let us know if you're picking the Broncos or the Seahawks. Thank you guys so much for joining us at home and obviously here in the crowd. Let's get to our very first topic. Today is Tuesday, which is Media Day at Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, which means all of the players have an opportunity to kind of make their voices be known before the big game. No other player, however, is more covered than Richard Sherman. Everyone wants to know what he will say. So obviously, after his infamous post-game rant, we want to know what will happen today. Will he be super hyped or will he be humble? Skip Bayless, questions for you.
Stephen A. Smith, if the question is, should Richard Sherman turn it down or turn it way back up today, I'm going to go with turn it way back up. Now, thank you.
Oh, will y'all stop it?
You know these are my people because New York is my town.
Here we go.
I'm the only one who lives here.
Here we go.
Thank you.
I can't. Guys, I mean, really? Come on.
Thank you.
Y'all want to enjoy the show?
Uh-oh. Security.
Y'all want to get
Security.
removed too?
Everybody has to go home.
Y'all better chill out.
You going to throw them all out?
Apparently.
So studio audience today?
Listen, we do a show without a studio every day.
This is true.
It ain't no different. Y'all try me.
Turn it
Back
down
to the question.
or keep it chill.
Stephen A. Smith, you know that I have been covering Super Bowls for a long time. I go all the way back to Super Bowl 10. We're up to 48. Do the math on that. I can never remember a player exploding off a championship game into Super Bowl week the way Richard Sherman has. He is dominating the national media, not just the sports media, but from ESPN to CNN to the non-sports media. So, Stephen A., we have seen Richard Sherman promote himself from fifth-round draft choice, lost up in the great Northwest up in Seattle, into a household name by going after Tom Brady. Then he went after Darrelle Revis, and then he finally went after Michael Crabtree. So I would suggest to Richard today, Tuesday, Media Day, he should go after Peyton Manning, the quarterback who just threw a record 55 touchdown passes.
All right.
My logic is, I believe Richard Sherman can cover Peyton's favorite receiver, Demaryius Thomas. It's a great matchup for Richard because he is so long, so strong, and has enough downfield speed to cover Demaryius. Maybe not a smaller, quicker receiver, but a good matchup with Demaryius. So why not dare Peyton Manning to throw at him? Why not try to get under Peyton's skin the way he got under other players' skin? Why not bait Peyton into throwing at him? Because, again, I think Richard could intercept a couple of balls if he gets enough balls thrown. So if I'm Richard today, I would say I guarantee Peyton Manning will not throw a touchdown pass on me because, bottom line, Richard Sherman plays best when he heaps the most pressure on himself. So today, I would go after Peyton.
First of all, I think that's childish.
Childish?
Yeah, it is. It's
after I'll go all the way back to Super Bowl 10, and I
just finished saying what you're suggesting is childish. This is a Super Bowl. This is not about Richard Sherman. It's about the Seahawks. This is not about Peyton Manning. It's about the Broncos. It's about winning a Super Bowl championship. And if anybody has proven that doesn't concern himself with the hyperbole surrounding games and things of that nature, it is somebody like a Peyton Manning. Okay, and so that you take that into account. But I also want to bring up this because when I think about Richard Sherman, you know what comes to my mind? Jadeveon Clowney. And I'm going to tell you why. This stud out of the University of South Carolina, who will be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft as far as I'm concerned, who deserves all the acclaim and accolades that he's received for his level of excellence and his ability on a football field, reduced himself to a cliff note because he had a hit in a bowl game last year. The hit was hyped beyond comprehension by ESPN as well as every other network. And as a result, this guy started doing interviews, showed up at the ESPYs, did some other interviews, talked about how you couldn't even double team him. Hell, you might not be able to triple team him. So when the season began, what happened? All of a sudden you had coaches and offenses from the opposition saying, we don't have to play your game. We can simply beat you by ignoring you. We'll run to the other side. We'll sit there and throw quick passes, screens, or whatever the case may be. We'll render you irrelevant by not even challenging you. And all of a sudden that contributed to his level of frustration. And at least the early part of the season, you, who watches college football and knows college football as good as anybody that I know, talked about how relatively irrelevant he was because schematically, they were veering away from him. Well, if you're Richard Sherman and you're playing in the Super Bowl and you're playing against Peyton Manning, yes, you might be defending Demaryius Thomas, but there's also Julius Thomas, there's also Wes Welker, there's also Eric Decker, there's also Noshawn Moreno, there's also Monty Ball, and of course it's Peyton Manning running the show. Maybe I can get into Richard Sherman's head by simply ignoring him, rendering him inactive. The biggest stage with you engaging in all of this hyperbole, evidently doing everything you could to bring attention to yourself. Maybe I beat you by getting into your head by simply ignoring you and attacking other parts of the field with other players. So in your haste to get active, to receive some acclaim or to do, and I'm not saying that Richard Sherman would do this. Yeah. I'm simply saying if we're talking about mind games, aren't there people that you know you don't need to try that with? Peyton Manning would be one of those people. That's not the dude to play mind games with. If Aaron Rodgers is the prima donna that you called him out to be and he's got an ego, that would make sense. If we're talking about Brett Favre, Mr. Wrangler commercial himself, and you're talking about his ego, that might make sense. If you're talking about Tony Romo and Jerry Jones, that might make sense. But Peyton Manning, playing mind games against him won't make much sense, even for somebody as brilliant as the young Richard Sherman is. And you can get inside his head by simply ignoring him and saying, on the biggest stage, people won't even be talking about you because I'll just ignore you and throw to a whole bunch of other people. That could mess with him too.
First of all, I believe that Richard Sherman should be insulted that you put him in the same sentence with Jadeveon Clowney. Richard Sherman backed it up all year long. You got to give him that.
But I'm not. I didn't bring him in the same sentence as Jadeveon Clowney in terms of ability. I'm using him in the same sentence, saying that a strategy could be employed to ignore him because you know he's great, because he's been telling you how great he is. He wants it fed. So the way to hurt him best is to be effective while ignoring him at the same time.
The obvious strategy against the Seattle Seahawks is to ignore Richard Sherman. That's basically what Kaepernick did for the entire game until the last big pass. And he finally said, I'm going to try him, which is why Richard said, you tried me in that moment. That was why he went off after the game. So I'm saying that the smart way, the calculated way to get Peyton to throw at you is to go after him on media day, because Peyton's still got an ego. He's got a lot of pride. He might just tell Demaryius, hey, we're going to shut this guy up. We are going to go at him because that's what we do. No. We are the Broncos. No. We set records.
Seems too high class.
You are by far my most targeted receiver. Do you think Peyton's going to go into this game and say, hey, yeah, I throw most of my balls to Demaryius, but today I'm not going to throw any balls to Demaryius?
No, Peyton goes into a game deciphering what's the best way to win. That's what Peyton Manning does. So if Peyton Manning sees that there are other ways to beat you, he's not concerned about Richard Sherman. He's concerned about Seattle's defense. What ways can I beat them? And whatever way is – if Peyton Manning could beat you by throwing the ball to the ball boy, he'd do it.
Well, you should throw it to Wes Welker.
Whatever it takes to win is what it will take.
Be nice.
Whatever way it takes to win is what he will do.
All right, so we want to find out what Richard has to say. The Seahawks portion of Media Day gets underway at 12:45 Eastern Standard Time. We shall report on that tomorrow. Moving on, let's talk about the Cowboys, who haven't been in a Super Bowl in nearly 2 decades.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why are we talking about the Cowboys today?
Apparently they're making Apparently they're making news. That's what I've been told.
How?
They hired a new offensive coordinator.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Stop the presses.
Yeah, well.
It's so important.
Apparently.
Really?
Yeah, you want to hear about him?
Go ahead.
His name is Scott Linehan. He's not necessarily replacing Bill Callahan, but he is on the team as of now. So we asked this question, was this a good hire or a bad hire? Skip Bayless, check the resume. Your take on this.
Kerry Champion.
Yes.
I cannot tell you last night how disappointed, how crushed I was when I saw this headline, because I knew that even during Super Bowl week, my Dallas Cowboys will not leave me alone. I knew that during Super Bowl week, my Cowboys, starting with Jerry Jones, have handed my partner, Stephen A. Smith, on a silver platter, the opportunity to ridicule me when they're not even in the game. They're not anywhere to be seen except in the headlines. Stephen A. Smith, I was at first happy that Jerry Jones actually tried to do something, but the something he did made a bad situation laughably worse. He took an unworkable situation and made it unbelievably, impossibly unworkable. This is madness. I remind you that last year it went from Bill Callahan calling plays up in the press box, relaying the play call to Jason Garrett on the sideline, who then relayed the call into Tony Romo in the huddle, who for the first time in his career, because he just signed a new lifetime Cowboy contract, has far more input into the game plan and now has the capability of vetoing every play called and checking off at the line of scrimmage. So now, to that mix, you have added Scott Linehan as the passing game coordinator to go along with the run game coordinator, Bill Callahan, to go along with Jason Garrett vetoing on the sideline, to go along with Tony Romo vetoing the play in the huddle. You just took the Three Stooges and you made them the Four Stooges. The Four Stooges are running the Dallas Cowboys now. Stephen A., I cannot defend myself. I have nothing.
Anarchy.
I'm at your mercy.
It's
today.
Anarchy there. Oh, boy.
You know, we could point out that the Dallas Cowboys have one playoff victory in 17 years.
We could.
That it's an absolute joke and a disgrace that they're America's team, because America is known for greatness. As a superpower, is one of the greatest countries, nations this world has ever known. And this is what is the replica of it. This is what is the representative as America's team. The Dallas Cowboys are inept. They're inefficient. They're underachievers. We all know this, and we all know because they epitomize dysfunctionality simply because of their owner. With that being said, it has gotten to the point where the Dallas Cowboys as an organization is such a disgrace that Dallas Cowboy fans nationwide, the world over, I'm on the verge of saying they should boycott this team. Now, obviously, I'm not in a strong position to say such things because I'm a native New Yorker, and by virtue of that, I'm a New York Knicks fan who isn't far from the same level. I don't need your applause at this moment. Timing is everything. Pay attention. The point is this. The New York Knicks have been a model of ineptitude. They've been embarrassing. We've all known this. But at least they made the playoffs last year, made it to the semifinals. These Dallas Cowboys are just an embarrassment. You pay Tony Romo guaranteed $55 million, sign him to a $108 million deal. And then you sit there and say, now he'll be in the film room more. Now he'll come early to practice and stay late. Now he'll be a leader and he'll have a voice. Oh, this is after you pay him. Mm-hmm. Not the first 8 years he couldn't do anything for you. And now you're going to do this for him. So you go in there, you hire a defensive coordinator who didn't do anything for the last several years at USC, okay? And oh, by the way, no disrespect to the senior citizens because I revere our elder statesmen in this country. But the bottom line is sometimes you just need to go. You just need to go home and chill and watch as opposed to work anymore. Then you have that going on. And then you had Bill Callahan. Your head coach didn't want him. But you brought him in there as your offensive coordinator and allowed him to call plays anyway. Now you're bringing in somebody to usurp his authority. So now you've got an unhappy head coach, an unhappy offensive coordinator, an old defensive coordinator, somebody else to contribute to the play calling, and you still have the same owner that loves to make headlines, loves to get attention, loves for you to talk about his product. He's a hype machine personified, but absolutely, positively nothing more. So I have gotten to the point where I am tired of denigrating and ridiculing and insulting the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to point my ire at Cowboys Nation and ask a very simple question. How much are y'all willing to take? How much are y'all willing to tolerate? You gonna still buy proud cowboy paraphernalia? You gonna still walk around with your proud cowboy hats and your cowboy blazers? You still care about the star and the helmet? Don't mind you cheering for the cheerleaders now. I definitely appreciate that. But the point that I'm trying to make is you have nothing else going for you. The Dallas Cowboys are a joke. They are an embarrassment. They are disgraceful. You're a bunch of daggone scrubs. Not talent-wise, but your record says that you are scrubs. Your record says that you're mediocre. Your record says that you stink. But you got the $1 billion playpen, all right, by Jerry Jones. It's an immaculate arena. We'll be talking about that arena years after we're all gone.
Okay,
like we talk about the Coliseum.
You gave him the floor. Why'd you do that?
That's enough. You're piling on now.
It's horrible.
There comes a point where decency kicks in, and you have to give it. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Let me ask you a question. When are the Dallas Cowboys going to be decent to us and give us a credible product to cheer for?
They're so decent. They're 8-8 every year.
Oh, okay.
They're horrible.
Okay. All right,
it's
gentlemen.
bad.
Our next guest is a New York Giant at heart. Helped them win Super Bowl 42 and 46, but he's moved on. He's an Atlanta Falcon now, but still loved here by the crowd. Everyone give a big round of applause for Osi Umenyiora. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're here on behalf of 1-800-Flowers. Don't settle for less. Is that correct?
Exactly. I'm here from 1-800-Flowers, and actually I brought you these beautiful flowers for you. The beautiful Carrie.
Thank
for having
you.
to put up with these two knuckleheads you hear every single day.
It is a tough ask.
Exactly.
I love them a little, but yes, it's a tough ask.
Happy early Valentine's Day.
Why we got to be knuckleheads?
Oh, well.
I didn't say anything about your Falcons yet.
We will get to that in just a moment, but before we do, Stephen A., tell us why you picked Seattle to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I just like their defense. I like the way they play defense and their intensity. They're extremely fast on the corners. Yep. They got excellent pass rushes, which, as I can tell you, is prerequisite for winning the Super Bowl. Okay. In these type of conditions that they're playing in, I think Marshawn Lynch is going to have a big game against that Denver team. I'm picking Denver. I like Seattle.
Okay.
I'm picking Seattle.
I'm not going to get on you too much about the Falcons. I'll leave that alone because I really know it was about injuries more than anything else. I'll leave that to you. But what I want to ask is, you're taking Seattle. Is it a product of how much does what you guys did to Brady when you were with the New York Giants factor into your decision to pick Seattle in this game?
Yeah, a huge factor. Obviously, we were able to do that against them twice, and it's imperative to have multiple pass rushes, and I think Seattle has that. They they know how to stop the run. Their linebackers are good, and their secondary is just outstanding. I think they're going to do a very good job on those tremendous receivers that Denver has, and I think the only way in the NFL that you can really affect the quarterback now is through a pass rush, because they've changed everything, all the rules. You can't touch the receivers past 5 yards. Those guys are going to be open. So you have to have pass rushes to get to the quarterback, and I think Seattle has a plethora of those.
Osi, I'll remind you.
Yes.
Peyton was by far the least sacked quarterback in the league this year.
Right.
In the 2 home playoff games, he got touched once in each game. Not sacked, touched once in each game.
Right.
But you think Seattle is going to be all over Peyton Manning?
It's not necessarily all about sacks, and I think a sack is the most overrated stat in football. But I think they're going to be able to affect the quarterback.
Made you some money, though.
I sure did.
Why is it the most overrated stat in football?
Well, because a sack is nothing but a glorified tackle for loss. But everybody looks at it like, oh, it's a big deal. I think the most important thing is getting pressure on the quarterback, forcing him to make errant throws, forcing him to do things that he's not comfortable doing. And I think if you're able to do that, you have a better outcome in the game in the long run. And I think Seattle's going to be able to do that.
Do that to Peyton. Okay.
Absolutely.
How good do you think Richard Sherman really is?
He's an outstanding player. I mean, from what I've seen, teams don't even throw the football his way. I know when we're playing him, I'm not sure if we threw the football at him at all. So I think, there's a lot of hype there by, the things that he said, but he always backs it up. He's a tremendous talent in the league.
Osi, you've become one of the respected elder statesmen in the game.
Yeah, man.
Have good perspective on it. We appreciate and enjoy having you on the show. So I want you to analyze this quote that we saw on SportsCenter yesterday and this morning from Peyton Manning to our Chris Mortensen on ESPN.
Okay.
Peyton Manning actually said, "I'm not sure I've reached my full potential yet. I think I'm still learning how to play quarterback in this league."
Right.
So he had a hint of a grin when he said it. Are you reading much into that?
No, but I understand what he's saying, because I remember even last season, which was my 11th year in the league, I was still learning things about the game of football that I didn't know before. So I understand from his perspective what he's thinking of and what he's saying. I think he's going to continue to play for a long time, maybe a couple more. I think so. Why? Yeah, why wouldn't you? He loves the game of football, even though he is a little bit older. But I understand what he's saying, because I'm still learning things about football right now.
One of the things I look at, going back to the game itself, when you pick Seattle, and I'm not saying you shouldn't because their defense is lethal, but it's not like it's Tom Brady looking for Randy Moss and that's it. Peyton Manning has Julius and Demaryius Thomas. He's got Welker. He's got Eric Decker. No Sean Moreno ran for 224 yards, I believe, against New England when they played earlier this year. He's got 5 legitimate weapons. How common is that for any defense to face that kind of onslaught in the NFL? Very
uncommon, but another thing that's also very uncommon is the Seattle Seahawks defensive backs. You don't see a team that has that many defensive backs at that size and that ability that can match up with those receivers. And the running game, I think Mebane inside and McDonald for Seattle, and then Chris Clemens, Averill, Michael Bennett, who is just a monster in there. I think they're going to be able to slow down the running game.
Yeah, but defense wins championships, but points win games. I'm trying to figure out how Seattle's going to score. This kid Knighton dominated against New England. If he's able to help neutralize the rush and Marshawn Lynch, then Russell Wilson with Golden Tate and a concussed Percy Harvin are going to have to find a way to put some points up.
It's going to be very difficult, but I really feel like they're going to find a way to get it done.
Well, when you say they're going to find a way to get it done, what are we talking about, OC? I'm talking about how many points. How many points do you think? Is this going to be something akin to you guys holding Tom Brady's #1 offense to 14 points?
They're going to have to. I think Seattle is going to have to hold them to at least 20 or less, and I think they're going to do that.
Wow.
So you're predicting that the Denver Broncos, who has not scored less than 20 points the entire year, every game during the regular season plus the postseason, are going to be held to less than 20 points in this game? Is that what you're saying?
That's my prediction.
Okay.
All right, leave it there.
He said, okay.
Can't argue with that. So, Osi, so stay if you're wrong, because people are wrong sometimes.
I've been wrong a million times.
Denver Broncos win this game. Where does that put Peyton Manning on the all-time great list in terms of quarterbacks, if you had your top 3?
In my opinion, he's already at the top of the list, no matter what happens in this game, because of what I've been able to see him do. Football is a team game. I think for the most part, a lot of people look at statistics and they think, oh, okay, this guy's this guy's not that, this guy's not this. But from what I've seen him do playing the quarterback position, I haven't seen anybody who can play that position the way he plays it. Tom Brady, no disrespect to him, he's an outstanding quarterback.
Peyton over Brady for you?
Of course, there's no question. I don't think there's a team that Peyton Manning can go to and instantly not transfer that team to a playoff contending team. I just don't think
Peyton Manning over Montana?
I mean, I didn't grow up in the Montana era. I was in Nigeria trying to figure out what I was going to eat.
Studied history.
But I studied history, But from what I've seen of Peyton Manning,
clearly eating. But go ahead.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But from what I've seen of Peyton Manning, he's clearly to me the best quarterback in the league.
Your Atlanta Falcons failed to live up to expectations, some Super Bowl expectations this year. I believe the number one reason for that, and I'm on record repeatedly on the show, is that your quarterback is a little overhyped and overrated in Matt Ryan. I don't think he's a top echelon, speaking of Peyton Manning, quarterback. Agree, disagree?
What kind of question is that? No, I agree. I agree 100%. No, of course that's not true. I think, Matt's an outstanding football player, an outstanding quarterback. If he's throwing the football and he gets tipped, it goes against him. They say he threw an interception, or if he throws 6 passes, 6 perfect passes, and the receivers drop 4 of them, then he went 2 for 6, and you say he's not playing a good game. When in actuality, he threw the ball perfectly. The receivers didn't catch him. So football is a team sport, man. We all have to play well together. He didn't get protected well. We didn't run the ball well because we just weren't able to do that on offense. So he's a great player, and I think the Atlanta Falcons will be back next year.
Skip Bayless and I are not on the same page with that. I'm a Matt Ryan fan. I think the man is a big-time quarterback. I'm not saying he's elite like Tom Brady. He's got some stuff to prove, but he's big-time. I like him a lot. But it did not help that y'all started out the season, injuries to Roddy White, obviously Julio Jones. But what does it say about you guys that – you completely fell apart. You weren't even in the pictures. One thing to have injuries are a part of football, but y'all fell off the map because of it. What does it say?
It doesn't say as much as you would think it says.
Really?
No, it doesn't, because of the way we lost these games. We had all these injuries. We had all these things that pretty much everything that could go wrong this season went wrong for us. But if you look at the way we lost these games, I think we lost 7 or 8 games by 3 or 4 points or less. It was ridiculous. So I would say more we were unlucky as to being just a flat-out terrible football team. The year before that, obviously they had the exact same situation, but the Atlanta Falcons were able to win all those games by 3 points. But this year it just flipped around. I hate that it happened when I got there. I don't know what that's saying, but that's the way it was. But I think things are going to be turned around next season.
Speaking of luck, since
boy.
we saw that nightmarish video
We're out of here.
Of what happened in your first Super Bowl against Tom Brady, the great Tom Brady. Could you please put into perspective just how lucky Eli Manning was to escape that sack and throw that prayer that David Tyree pinned against his helmet to win the game? Could you please explain how lucky
we drew that up? We drew that up. It was a planned play. It was a planned play.
I couldn't say that.
It happened the exact way we drew it up, man.
Yeah, your teammate Plexico was here yesterday and declared it lucky because it was the luckiest play in Super Bowl.
He showed up. He was a little late for the meeting.
Oh, so he didn't know the play.
So he didn't know the play. Exactly.
Would you like me to take this over for
you? Please, destroy this guy.
Let me say this, America. If Skip Bayless had picked the Giants to win the Super Bowl, he would have come on the air the next day and he would have said, we lucked up, we were lucky. He would have acknowledged that. But that would have been the only time.
Right.
And then he'd let it go. But because he picked the Patriots, it's been years. And we still can't get over that. Luck or not, here's the bottom line.
You did it twice.
More than not just that you did it twice. This is what I want you to remind the world of. Tom Brady had thrown 50 touchdowns that season. Randy Moss had caught 23 touchdowns that season. They were breaking records all over the place.
Everywhere.
They were the number 1 ranked offense. And Tom Brady walked into the game laughing at the notion that they were.
How did he laugh?
Really? We're gonna score 17 points? Really? Okay. Right. And what happened? You didn't even score 17. You got held to 14. So luck or no luck, regardless of the last touchdown Tom Brady threw to give them the lead before they lost, your defense held Tom Brady and the vaunted New England Patriots to 14 points in the Super Bowl. There is nothing to talk about.
Did Tom Brady not do enough to win the football game?
Of course not.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
It's third and forever.
No, he didn't.
And Eli Manning is down. Has he ever escaped from a sack
Brady
in his
got
life?
Punished that game.
No, he never has. I don't know how
Did
he
you hear
did
what he said?
He got punished that game.
Punished.
He got punished that game.
Punished.
What did
He
he know?
scored 14 winning points with 2:40 left.
Evidently it wasn't.
It should have been over.
Evidently it wasn't winning points.
Yeah,
Evidently.
because of the luckiest play in
Right.
Super Bowl history.
Apparently.
This guy held in check.
Osi,
No way.
admit it.
No way I'm admitting
He was
that.
late to the meeting.
He was late to the meeting, so he didn't see Coach Coughlin specifically draw up that play for Eli Manning.
There you go.
Yeah.
We got it on the record again. Ladies and gentlemen, Osi Umenyiora says that the Seattle Seahawks will win the Super Bowl. Please give it up for him. A round of applause. Thank you for joining us. You're a sweetheart. Appreciate it. Kevin Durant playing like a man possessed, including scoring 41 points last night. 41 points. And the game-winning jumper with a little over a second left. Listen to what he had to say after the game.
They bought that double, and I knew they was bold enough to do it in the fourth quarter. So, I seen the opening going to my right, and I just wanted to be aggressive. I was gonna pass it, but then I seen I was in my spot, and I just had to pull up. When you're playing this game with your heart and passion like we do, sometimes you gotta sit back and just enjoy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to First Take. We're live on the road for the Super Bowl. Bryant Park, Celsius Restaurant. I love Terry Champion. I love me too. We're talking about Kevin Durant. It is his 11th straight game where he has scored 30-plus points or more. Skip Bayless, we're putting you on the hook. Were you impressed by KD's performance?
Stephen A. Smith, last night, I was extremely impressed by Kevin Durant. This was a classic trap game at home 2 nights before the Thunder visit Miami against an Atlanta team that is struggling without its best player, Al Horford, and last night without its point guard, Jeff Teague. And I will remind you, Oklahoma City trailed this game by 13 in the third quarter. I'm watching the game, and I said, there is no way Durant is going to let this happen in his house. And Kevin Durant said no. Kevin Durant, for the first time I'm seeing this new guy, got mad in the fourth quarter. He was scoring, and he kept glaring at the Atlanta bench after he would score. And I'd say, who are you mad at? On the Hawks? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's Jordan-esque to glare at somebody for nothing, but he was mad. And I'm asking myself, where was this Kevin Durant? 4 straight close losses in the playoffs last year to Memphis. And I remind you, I'm going to bring up the stat one more time. In those 4 losses, in the last 5 minutes combined of those 4 games, Kevin Durant, these are playoff games, shot 3 for 17, 0 for 3 from 3 combined, 2 for 5 from the line he owns, the free throw line. You know what? As great as those beats are, boo, you're getting booed. Thank you. Boo.
Listen. He's listening to you.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Terry, I'm just going to talk to you
Okay,
because
that's fine.
obviously you know a lot more about basketball than he does.
Than Nate Smith, huh?
I ask you, where was last night's Kevin Durant on New Year's Eve when Portland visited Oklahoma City in a big matchup of Western Conference powers?
Right.
And Kevin Durant scored 1 point in the fourth quarter, and Portland won the fourth quarter 27-16. Where was this Kevin Durant 2 nights later when the woeful Nets visited Oklahoma City and went on a 19-0 run in the fourth quarter and won the game? Where was this Kevin Durant on January 7th when Oklahoma City went to Utah arguably the worst team in the Western Conference, and got blown out in the fourth quarter. I love the mad Kevin Durant, the not nice Kevin
KD,
Durant.
yeah.
I want to see more of the not nice Kevin Durant, because when he pushes that button, he is beyond LeBron James in the fourth quarter.
Well, do you know what he's going to say to you now?
I don't know. He didn't hear my argument.
I think he knows.
I've heard some of it.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
reason
right.
why I put on the headphones is because it's just regurgitating the same stuff. And I think that, and I'm dead serious, I'm not playing when I say this. Skip Bayless, ladies and gentlemen, knows basketball. He's been covering it for decades, which is why his comments about Kevin Durant are entirely inexcusable. Because it's not that he's not telling the truth, is that he's being incomplete. And you're being incomplete because you have a standard that you create for players you like and love and have vouched for, and the second they disappoint you, you jump ship. And I think that's wrong. The second they disappoint you.
Are four games 1 second?
Well, yes.
Really?
Because
Four straight playoff losses.
It's a blimp on the screen, on the radar, for a guy of Kevin Durant's magnitude. I have said to you, and I have explained this to you to the point where you even acquiesced and agreed with me on this point, but you forget now. Sometimes it takes that moment in order to elevate you. The Kevin Durant that we're talking about here, cut that music and get it out my ear, please. I'm talking. Here's the deal. All right? They're playing music in my ear. I'm talking. I don't want to hear the music.
Put your beats back on.
I'm talking. What I'm saying to you is that Kevin Durant is a once-in-a-generation caliber player. Right. The level of greatness that exists in this young man is beyond special. We have never seen this offensive repertoire, this package before our very eyes. He's 6'10", man. He's got a 7'6" wingspan. He can play point. He can dribble the ball up the floor. He's fast. He's quick.
I've been trying to tell you that for 5 years.
I'm not finished. I'm talking. I'm getting to a point.
Give me those headphones.
I'm talking to a point. No, you can't have that. The point is that when you look at what he can do and he can pull up from 30 and what have you, think about this. We decried what he did not do in an NBA Finals where he averaged 30 on better than 50% shooting. We said that was an off series because there were pivotal moments where he wasn't there. But he averaged 30 on better than 50% shooting. So that just shows you the level of ability he has. The issue in question has been his willingness to be assertive at the right time. What has been his impediment? His impediment is the fact that he's about team, that he thinks about the importance of bringing Russell Westbrook along. We worried, was he going to bring Reggie Jackson and Jeremy Lamb and Thabo Sefolosha and Ibaka and all of these boys along to the detriment of his game? And what he's showing you is that he's beyond that now. It took him losing to Memphis the way that he did, rather than sitting there and pointing it out and saying, where was he, where was he? How about looking at it and saying, he learned a very valuable lesson from that, and now we're seeing a guy evolve before our very eyes and add on to the greatness we already know he possesses. I'm saying to you, there are certain talents that you have to step back and say, you know what? I'm going to shut the hell up and appreciate what I'm seeing, because everybody can't do what this boy can do. Kevin Durant is a superstar, Skip. Yeah. He's on another level, man.
Okay.
He's on another level.
For 5 years on this show, I argued Durant over LeBron to you, and you took LeBron again and again and again.
I still say LeBron because LeBron plays better defense.
Okay. Here's what happened for me. I talked to a lot of people around this league, many I respect, who kept telling me, you've got it all wrong in Oklahoma City. The Batman in Oklahoma City, the guy with the toughest fourth quarter intangibles, is not KD. It's the other guy.
See how you are?
No.
You see how you are?
Let me finish. These people kept telling me, people I respected, and I'd say, no, Westbrook is such a knucklehead when it comes to fourth quarter basketball decision. They said he's the guy with the guts in the fourth quarter. And finally, against Memphis, I said, you know what? They are right. The go-to guy, the Batman in Oklahoma City, is actually Russell Westbrook. I said, okay, I got it.
Forget those NBA executives. The dude sitting across from you was telling it to you for years. You ignored me. You said, oh, Stephen Naismith, you're supposed to be. You're the man who invented basketball. And ignored me for years. You ignored me. You looked at me like I needed to be put in an asylum for telling you that about Russell Westbrook. You ignored me for 2 years.
You agreed with me that Westbrook was taking too many of Durant's shots.
I told you, though. I said to you, Westbrook is a starter's boy. I ain't letting him go. You wanted to trade him. Remember?
Yeah. I've never loved it.
I'm just saying you wanted to trade this man.
So I finally admit I'm wrong. Westbrook is Batman, and now you're all over me saying,
because you're giving credit to
Kevin Durant
because you're giving credit
I've been giving it to him for 5 years.
Because you're giving
Kevin
credit to the
Durant has been in this league for 7 years now. It's not like he just started last year.
He wants you to tell him he's right.
You're giving credit to the executives when your boy's sitting right across
That's all he wants. That's all he wants.
That's
not true.
We have some revisionist history going on here.
Number two, what I said to you was the one impediment to Kevin Durant's game was his aggression. Was he willing to be aggressive? That is it. You went so far as to say, I'm not willing to go to the superstar level. How can you not?
Okay, because
this dude is on another level.
We're of the moment on this show. Every day we come in and talk about what we just saw.
Sure.
I just gave you 3 games less than a month ago. He came up, to use your term, smaller than mini-me in the fourth quarter. 3 straight losses without Russell Westbrook.
And I'm telling you over
I'm saying, where is he?
Wait a minute. You have to acknowledge that where you and I are diametrically opposed is that you put a lot of stock in 82-game regular seasons more than I do. A lot of times during the regular season, just to inform our fans here, let's be clear about something here. I know the NBA on this level. You've got guys that sometimes they take a night off. If a game is in L.A., the night, if they got a night off before a game in L.A., Toronto.
Yeah.
I'm just look,
superstars don't.
Let me assure you, sometimes it's harder for the superstars because of the things that come their way. But they handle it. I'm just simply saying it's a challenge sometimes over the course of 82 games. You can't measure it by what you see over the course of an 82 game, 3 games. Come on now.
Stephen A., you ever take a night off before Miami? You ever take a night off in L.A.?
No, but I will acknowledge that it is a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
It is, but I'm a professional.
Was a little bit tricky.
But I'm a professional.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Okay. I mean, this is home. New York is different.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl 48, live from New York. First Take is on the road. We're at Celsius Restaurant here in Bryant Park. I'm sitting next to arguably one of the most productive tight ends when he was in the NFL. I need everyone to relax. Let's introduce our next guest, Chris Cooley, a former tight end for the Redskins. How are you? They're very excited to see you.
This is unbelievable to have this audience.
Yeah.
I realize that it's on television, but all the people around me make me feel awkward. Normally, when you just sit down in a studio, it's a couple of guys talking sports, or a couple of people talking sports.
And played before 70,000 people, right?
Yeah, you've done that before.
Playing's different than speaking.
All right, so listen, before we went to break, you decided to say that Denver Broncos would win the Super Bowl. We need you to explain, sir. That's fine. Please, be happy. We will provide security for those who are not happy with your choice,
We'll provide security.
As you walk out the door.
I think this is such a fantastic matchup because you do get number 1 offense against number 1 defense. But when you look at the way the Broncos offense has evolved into an absolute monster with 5, 6, 7 guys that can make receptions at any point in time, and Peyton Manning, who disguises every run, every pass, every protection. I just see the Seahawks having a hard time stopping them, and then I don't believe they can outscore them. So let's say Denver puts up 28. Can Seattle outscore them? I don't buy into that.
You don't.
What do you think about Osi Umenyiora proclaiming that the Denver Broncos will be held to less than 20 points? And that's how Seattle will win.
I think it's so unrealistic because of the way the Broncos are playing right now and the understanding of that offense. When you just look at their passing game, Peyton will pass it against every look and every set. he takes a 3-step drop, but they have about 8 protections that no one understands, and that's why people can't put pressure on him.
Oh.
He'll have a running back stay in and chip. He'll have a running back that could stay in, but the backer won't come, so he'll check out early. They'll put guys like Virgil Green in the backfield and call protections out. Virgil Green's a tight end. They'll hand it off to him. There's just so much confusion that you can't really rush the passer.
I get that, but one of the other things, before I let Skip go, Denver only scored 26 points against New England. It's not like they dropped. Should have been more, but it's not like they dropped 36 or 40 or something. They only scored 26 points. So if it was against a New England defense without Vince Wilfork, without Mayo, okay, without Spikes and those boys, is it really inconceivable that they could be held to less than 20 against a Seattle defense that not only is elite but healthy coming into this game?
I think it's conceivable if Seattle can control the ball. I don't buy into the fact that Seattle will be able to control the ball. Denver was the 7th best run defense. They've been fantastic in the playoffs. Seattle struggles when they throw the ball. Russell Wilson's a fantastic young quarterback who's doing a lot of really special things, but he flees the pocket after he gets off his first read, and Denver understands that. They shut down that run game, which I think they will, because they bring up safeties like Iheanacho. Linebackers get off double teams well. They do a lot inside that it will make it hard for Seattle to run. And I just don't see them converting first down after first down, which means, in turn, Denver has the ball more than Seattle wants, and you give Peyton opportunity after opportunity.
Stephen A., I think Chris is speaking a little bit with his heart here, because could you have imagined Chris Cooley in this Broncos offense as an underneath possession receiver, which he was best at? You would have caught your 30 or 40 balls, right?
I probably would have caught more than 30.
I was going to say, I'm not saying we're just passing around, man.
Right. I mean, it would be unbelievable to play for an offense that operates like that. But because you want to learn every position, you get all these guys that, because of Peyton Manning, don't just learn the tight end, the wide position. Don't just learn the gator, the slot position. They know it all. They know all the protections. They know everything. Peyton Manning comes to work like a businessman, and I believe the rest of these guys come to work like businessmen. But I will tell you, I'm speaking from my heart a little bit. No longer a Broncos fan, but I grew up in Wyoming, a diehard Denver Broncos fan.
Okay. Robert Griffin III has been as hot a topic as we've had on this show. You played with him his rookie year when he was at his best. You watched, as a Redskins analyst, him fall to his worst last year. What happened to him last year?
What he was so good at in his rookie season was making the defense defend 11 guys. There was another gap in the run game that they had to credit for. In turn, they had to come down with safeties. They had to come down with people in the passing game. And I believe he didn't even have to read out protections. There were so many times that he had guys so wide open that you just throw it to him.
Yeah.
Because he was so tough to defend in the run, it made it that tough to defend the entire team in the pass game. But when you talk about the entire team, you look at film from 2 years ago and watch the offensive line play, watch the receivers block downfield, watch the emotion that people played with. And then you look at last year, especially the second half of the season, and you say, this isn't as special as it was last year. There's something missing chemistry. And
what was missing?
Well, if you were in D.C., the evil tyrant Mike Shanahan was going. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, there was a lot going on in that locker room, and you don't use that as an excuse. But I think it was tough for the players. They didn't know what was happening. It was tough for the staff.
But was it tough because of Mike Shanahan, or was it tough because of RG3?
Look, both have a lot to blame. There was a lot different that I think.
I'm sorry, you said equal blame for both.
I think there's equal blame for both. I have no question that there's equal blame. When you get into this, I'm going to take a little jab at you in the media, and then I'm going to take a jab, and maybe Mike's mad because Robert didn't involve him in some of his off-season ventures, or who knows what. But that needed to get settled before the season started. Any of those comments travel through the locker room, and then I think it made Robert, in turn, this little bit larger-than-life figure with a lot of the guys, and there was some animosity going on. And I believe that that's been fixed in that locker room, especially with Robert and the guys around him. I believe that it was hard on him, and it was something that he had never understood or experienced. He's only really had the greatness, and he's only really had people say, you're the best, and not just on the football field, but in your commercials, in the media, in the community, you're always the best. Now he's had to be humbled. I think that's going to be hard for any young player, but I believe it'll make him better.
How much do you believe he could ever get back to the rookie year RG3?
I think as the year unfolded, he got healthier and healthier. And I had played with one of those knee braces and actually took it off because I said, this is like a ball and chain on my leg. When you watch him run, I think he was running about a 4.7 last year. He was getting run down by defensive tackles, and you're going, this isn't the RG3 we know. I think he's healthy, but when you're carrying around a knee brace like that and trying to be a mobile passer, it makes it so tough. So he didn't have the big runs. He didn't want to put his foot in the ground and plant and take it upfield. He took some big hits early, and I think he said enough of this.
I saw a couple of players speak out, whether directly or indirectly, against him, talking about how people needed to accept accountability and responsibility, particularly Pierre Garçon and Santana Moss. I'm wondering if, when you talk about blame being both Shanahan and RG3, when we specify it about RG3, was it what Skip pointed out and what I alluded to in terms of feeling yourself, thinking like you're the man, and as a result sort of alienating guys in that locker room, thinking that you were above the crowd?
Well, first of all, in terms of accepting blame, and you guys know this as well as anybody, players are basically given a card of, here's what you're going to say in an interview.
Right.
We played well. I care about my guys. The offensive line blocked well. We. That one thing that you're told as a player is to really never say I. It makes you stand out. Now, in the case of Robert, I think there were some instances that he could have said, this is on me.
Yep.
Look at a guy like Peyton Manning. When they fail, he says, I did this. I need to fix this. I think when you fail, you can say I, and Robert understood that. But I also believe that he was given a card as a guy to say this. Where he failed ultimately wasn't that he didn't take the blame himself, but he said, this is on Mike.
Yep.
They promised that I'll start for the first game. Started putting it out there and
Close it out like this.
made it tough on him.
Here's the bottom line. There's not a question, just a statement. I'll end it right here. I think the most telling thing was when they played the Philadelphia Eagles and he threw that last ball out of the end zone, and the only people that came to help him up was the official and a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Not one of his teammates came over to help him up. I have never seen that.
Yeah, and I think they actually had a stat about how many times he was picked up in the first year besides the second year.
Yes.
I'll end it with this. I believe in Robert Griffin because I feel like this segment's been somewhat negative towards Robert. I think he's fantastic. I think he is one of the most unbelievable people I've met as far as a leader in the locker room, as far as a guy on the football field. Some of the most innate special abilities that I've ever seen as a football player. And I spent a lot of time this year watching Redskins film, also 49ers and Seahawks film. And there's nothing that Kaepernick or Russell Wilson is doing right now that Robert Griffin can't do and can't excel at doing further. I'm fully on board that he'll be an unbelievable player.
Chris Cooley, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a round of applause. Thank you for joining us.
The bowl games are done, but the college football season is far from over. As National Signing Day approaches, a frenzied cross-country competition for defensive studs and quarterbacks is taking place. ESPN Insider's Recruiting Nation lets you know which playmakers and game changers are heading to your favorite college campus, and if maybe one of them can help make next year your year. Behind the scenes, beyond the headlines, before it happens, ESPN Insider, your way in. Visit ESPN.com/insider.
Welcome back. First Take on the road, ladies and gentlemen. We are live in Bryant Park. Look at that First Take huge blow up to show how big we are. Look at our audience. Look at our crowd. They're happy to see me. They're happy to see you. They're happy to see you. They're just happy, is what I'm saying. It feels big. It feels special. Skip, 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 skip. Bo, Steve, give it up for Stephen A, though. Give me a Stephen A. Stephen A. Stephen A. That's rude. You guys are so disrespectful. I'm going to have to borrow his line.
Do I look like I care?
You don't care. He does not care. Meanwhile,
Trust me, I don't.
We have a guest here. Chicago Bears tight end Martellus Bennet is here joining First Take. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome him in. Before we went to break, I noticed that you picked the Seattle Seahawks. Might that have something to do with the fact that your older brother, Michael Bennet, plays for them?
That's exactly why I picked the Seahawks.
All right. Explain. Continue. There's more to it.
Well, you always have to support family. My brother, he's been a beast this year, and I'm super excited for this opportunity for him, and no other place for me to root but for him. I've been rooting for him all his life, so now I just get to do it in New York City.
So is that your heart or is that your head speaking?
It's both. My heart and my head speak together.
In unison.
Yeah, it's one voice.
Stephen A., go ahead.
I don't blame you for doing that. I mean, blood is thicker than water. You got to root for your brother. I'm concerned about that offense, though. I have no concerns about the defense. I think the defense will show up and be effective to some degree. I don't know if anybody stops Peyton Manning, but I think you can neutralize them to some degree. But does it really, really matter if the offense can't produce points for you? You confident that this offense can produce some points?
Well, the part of their offensive side, I think it is the weak part of their team. I think if they could run beast mode and control the clock, they got a great chance of winning. Now, if Peyton Manning is scoring, 5-minute, 7-minute drives like he's been doing in the past, they're going to have trouble. But the defense could keep him off the field and get him to go 3 and out a couple of times, and they could hold the ball, then it could be a low-scoring game.
Offensively, if you were Seattle, what would you do to beat Denver?
Well, they don't have Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, and Matt Forte, so if I was Seattle, I would run beast mode as much as possible and try to get in third and short situations and then dump it off underneath.
Your brother, once an undrafted free agent, has turned into a bad man. Do you think he can get his hands on Peyton 2 or 3 times?
I'm pretty sure he will. Peyton, the thing about Peyton is, like last week, they a couple weeks ago, they put a lot of pressure on Kaepernick, but he was able to scramble out the pocket. So, Peyton, he usually just goes down. He's up and down. He doesn't like go sideways.
But he doesn't go down very often.
Well, they haven't faced a defensive line like this one. So,
as an offensive player, tell us how the NFL, it's one thing for us to sit here and talk about how awesome Seattle's defense is. But as an offensive player in the NFL, when you look at Seattle's defense, their personnel, what kind of thought specifically goes through the mind of an offensive player?
Well, when I watch them, my favorite reason to watch them is because they're so passionate when they play. Every single player on that defense is passionate. You hear Richard Sherman talk all the time, but if you watch the tape, every single player on that team talks trash after every single play. And they're just passionate, and they have a lot of confidence in one another, and they cover for each other. So whenever the secondary does break down, the defensive line is getting a sack. And when the defensive line is not getting a sack, they're able to because the secondary is covering so well. So they're just a team that you got to seize the opportunities that you get. You got to make the plays when you get them. If there's a jump ball, you have to come down with it. If you're running it, you got to get 2 or 3 yards. 2 or 3 yards. You can't take any loss on any plays. And other than that, you got to protect the quarterback. If you don't protect the quarterback, you're gonna have a long day.
You mentioned Richard Sherman. What do you think about his post-game rant and the aftermath of what has all happened?
I don't really care what he said after the game. It's just football at the end of the day. But I think it's kind of crazy, the power of the tongue, not just our tongues, but now the power of the thumbs, and this
it's very true
nowadays. So, he's a young man who's passionate about what he does. When he speaks, he's a competitor. I don't really think he said anything wrong. He's calling out, it's a battle. Back in the day when Jordan and all those guys played, they came at each other like that. Nowadays, everybody wants you to be nice. Oh, it was a great game. He played so well. But if I don't like you, I don't like you. There's no reason for me to say, no reason for me to come out and be like, oh, he played a great game. Now, if I'm a defensive back and I'm covering a receiver, I'm coming after you every single play. And if I really don't like you, I don't like you. No, I don't know what the reason is.
All right, that's personal feelings. Is Michael Crabtree mediocre?
No, I think he's nice.
Okay.
He has some of the best hands in the league, but I don't cover anyone, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm nice, and a lot of people say I suck, so.
Well, I don't say that, but go ahead.
All right. I got to ask you a painful question about my Dallas Cowboys. You were once upon a time a second-round draft pick of my Dallas Cowboys. What the heck is wrong with them today?
Well, I think I really don't know. It's just been when I was there, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like playing football there at all. When I got there, it was the best thing that could happen in my career. It just wasn't a fit for me. Jason Witten's a great tight end. I appreciate him a lot more than I did when I played with the Cowboys, because I learned so much from him. But when I was there, I just hated it, because I was never going to get on the field for 4 years. This guy never got hurt. If he did get hurt, he's playing with broken ankles, broken arms, a ruptured spleen.
Yeah, that's true. He did.
Torn vertebrae. I don't know if you could tear a vertebrae, but it probably happened to him before, So other than that, just for me, that's the main reason. As a competitor, I really wasn't getting a chance to do what I felt like I could do. So.
And what's your opinion of Jerry Jones?
I like Jerry. Show me the money. He's one of the best businessmen, but like anybody who runs a company, you know, at the end of the day, these football teams are companies, and their job is to make money, and that's what they want to do. They want to keep their pockets fat.
Is that your way of saying that Jerry Jones? I don't want to put words in your mouth because I'm dead serious when I say this. Jerry Jones appears to be more concerned with making money than winning. Is any player that ever played for him feel that way?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, winning makes money, so I think, yeah.
Well, he's been making money, and he hasn't been winning.
But that's because he's been selling the wins that they did have.
Well, I'm trying to figure out when did they have.
It's all about the
wins.
consumers. 93, 94.
Okay. All right.
That
All
wasn't
right.
it?
Now on to his New York Football Giants. What's wrong with another team you used to play for?
I mean, the obvious reason why these teams are having problems is because I'm no longer there.
Is that right? Let me just put that in. Okay. Bennett's not there. That's why they cover. We got it. Breaking news. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're saying Eli wouldn't have led the league in interceptions for a third time if you had been there this year?
Yes.
I would like to add something. You did play for the Chicago Bears this past year? What did they win?
We didn't win anything. But only one team's win every year.
No, y'all didn't make the playoffs.
No, we did not make the playoffs.
All right, so that means you wasn't even in the postseason.
No, we were not in the postseason.
So why are you talking? I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying they didn't win.
The Bears.
We didn't win.
They didn't get it done.
Only two teams got it done. Well, only one team's going to get it done depending on Sunday. So every year there's only one winner. Everyone's a loser.
I'm just saying, well, to me, you ain't a loser if you made the postseason.
You lose. You're a loser. You just lost later.
Later on.
That's a good point.
We leave it there. You're a loser. You just lost later.
I'm not saying they're a loser, but I'm just like, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are giving new meaning to it. America's team, but one playoff victory in 17 years.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
He got you there.
I don't play for the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm just saying.
Martellus Bennet, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for him. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Bryant Park, Celsius Restaurant. The crowd is rowdy, but yet respectful. We are having a good time. You're so jealous. Come down and join us. Before we went to break, a Super Bowl champion by the name of Steve Weatherford decided to say the Denver Broncos would win the Super Bowl. Steve, welcome to the desk. We appreciate you.
It, man.
Go ahead and say.
This is the fittest and best dressed punter in the National Football League.
Let me tell you. No, wait, time out. The reason why he's saying that is because you guys are going to work out together. He's now your workout partner.
I'm going to try to work out with him.
Okay.
If I do a 3-miler with him,
okay,
I can stay within vision of him. But anything more than that, he would absolutely crush me.
That's just a
he runs like 8 miles at a time.
Oh, is that it? Only 8, huh? Yeah, you're slacking.
I can't live with this guy.
I personally think that Skip is saying that just to knock Feely as well. But I just
boy, here we go. All right, Giants punter Steve Weatherford here. He said Denver Broncos would win the Super Bowl. Explain yourself, kind sir.
Well, I see the scenario of the wind coming into play and the snow and everything, and I feel like if it's a really nasty day, I think Seattle's going to win because they've got an opportunistic defense. You know, you've got Richard Sherman is hotter than anybody in the NFL right now, and I think Martellus Bennett's brother is having an incredible year. What a key addition to that team. But I don't think it's going to be nasty weather, and that's why I picked Denver because it's the greatest quarterback of all time. You give him 2 weeks in preparation, and I don't care if he's playing the 85 Bears defense. This guy is an absolute machine, and he's going to play his best football in the second half. The reason being, we played him when I was a Jet in the AFC Championship game, and we were in control of that game until halftime. When he came out, we threw all our curveballs at him. Rex Ryan threw them in the first half. He got it figured out in 30 minutes. So it's going to be a tough game.
You said he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Better than Eli, better than Brady?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm saying that. I mean, Eli's my quarterback, and I love him to death, and he's the only reason that I have this ring on my finger. But Peyton Manning he's in a league of his own. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, but are you saying that if there's inclement weather, if the wind is a bit too much, if it's raining or snowing or whatever the case may be, even though that's not what's being predicted, are you saying that then Seattle would get the edge in your mind?
I think so because the Legion of Boom they're going to bring it. I mean, they're hungry for this win, and I think if that's the case, Peyton Manning does struggle in tough conditions. And I think statistically, if you look at the wide receiving core of the Denver Broncos, they're averaging a drop per 10 dropbacks by Eli Manning. That ain't good. You know, and Wes Welker, as much as I like him as a player, he has struggled when the game is on the line in big games.
True.
Example, the Giants and the Patriots 2012 Super Bowl. I mean, the facts are what they are. I'm a big fan of his, but he struggled.
Hey, now, Steve, I remind you, Joe Montana went 4 for 4 in Super Bowls, should have won all 4 MVPs. Jerry Rice won 1. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that even then,
yes.
Even at that level,
yes.
You're saying why? Just in a vacuum?
Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison for a number of years, correct?
Yes.
And he had Reggie Wayne.
Right. Reggie Wayne is not Jerry Rice. Well, he's a very good player, and I'm not taking anything away from Jerry Rice. That's like Peyton Manning. He's in a league of his own. And that's the only reason I say that, because Joe Montana's supporting cast was much stronger than what Peyton Manning's been able to have his entire career, because but he commands so much money in cap.
I get it, but
that you can't support him
Peyton's
as well.
Still 11-11 in the postseason, so you can't really. He needs this win over this number one ranked defense to vault him into your conversation.
I think in order for people to agree with what I've just said, I think he's going to have to win this game. You can't say he's the greatest of all time with 1 ring.
Okay.
It's the one thing that's missing. Everybody said, oh, he might be the greatest of all time, but he needs his ring. Well, now he's got 1 ring, but he needs to get another one. When's it going to stop?
You can sit there and say, all right, he would be better than Montana, but that also means you believe he would be better than Brady. Skip is somebody that doesn't believe that. I tend to agree with him in terms of where Brady is right now, but I do believe that if Peyton wins this Super Bowl, it would vault him over Brady, because I think you have to take into consideration the fact that Brady has had Belichick all of these years, and that's not something that Peyton Manning ever had. Even though he did have Tony Dungy, and now he does have John Fox, who's no scrub as a coach, still in all Bill Belichick's Bill Belichick. What do you say to that?
I agree. I think having a great coach is as good as having an awesome wide receiver, but that being said, Peyton Manning doesn't really need to be coach. I think the best job in the NFL is the offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning. He's making all the adjustments and all the calls himself. Why even have one?
Offensive coordinator?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously?
Who's the offensive coordinator for the Broncos? I don't know.
Adam
He
Gase.
just,
and I think on that same point, this is the only Super Bowl that I can remember in recent history where nobody is talking about Pete Carroll or John Fox. It's all Richard Sherman and all Peyton Manning. That's all they're talking about.
Okay, you mentioned your quarterback, Eli. How do you explain his highly erratic performance this past football season?
That's simple. It's offensive line. And not that they didn't play well, but there were so many injuries. We were riddled with injuries. You look at the guys that play on our offensive line: Chris Snead, perennial Pro Bowler; David Boss, incredible center; David Deal. We didn't have any of those guys this year, and those are the guys that really make it work. They have such great synergy playing together. They know each other's weaknesses, they know each other's strengths, and they play so well with each other. The only guy that we had consistent on that line all year was Kevin Booth, and he did a great job, and a rookie first-rounder, Justin Pugh. That's all that was consistent within that line. We had different we had different tight ends all year. So in order for Eli Manning to be able to execute well, he's going to have time back there. In addition to, we didn't have a balanced attack because we went through 5 running backs this year. 5 running backs. That's unheard of. And so it was difficult. And I feel for him because he wasn't given what he deserves in order to have time to execute. And we would get behind in games, and we were handcuffed because they knew we were throwing the ball, and he didn't even have time to throw the ball. So
Stephen
it was frustrating.
A. Smith, are you giving Eli that kind of pass?
To some degree, because I just think, listen, Eli Manning was an incredible disappointment this year. I didn't like the fact that he threw 25 interceptions a few years back. I'm talking about a few years back. But the man has 2 Super Bowl rings. I've seen Eli Manning go on the road under difficult circumstances and deliver the goods in postseason. I don't like the absence of consistency, particularly being that he's Peyton's little brother, because I'd like to believe some of that should rub off, okay, and you don't have a kind of
different players, though.
I'm just saying, being that it's your brother, you work out with him in the offseason, some of the mistakes you've seen Eli made, you wouldn't see Peyton Manning make, that kind of stuff. But nothing can take away from the fact that Eli Manning has been big in big moments a lot throughout his career, and I respect the hell out of Eli Manning. I truly do.
I mean, to go from 9-7, Skip, where we were at the end of the regular season, and really sneak into the playoffs, there were so many comebacks in fourth quarter comebacks with 2 minutes to go where we threw a touchdown with a minute to go and then our defense came up big and stopped them from doing the same to us is unbelievable. And then we go on the road. We play Atlanta at home. Then we go on the road to Green Bay. It was 17 degrees. Yep. We win that game. We go into San Francisco. Sideways rain, 32 degrees. We have 12 punts. It was a knockdown, drag-out fight.
The one other thing I want to add is this. If you remember, Skip, when Eli is confronted with a big moment or a big-time competition at another quarterback, from another quarterback, Eli has usually responded.
And you can't
he
coach,
doesn't shrink
coach that, though,
beneath
Steven.
the moment.
You can't coach that.
Again, I don't like this year, but if you're asking me, do I believe in Eli? Yes, I do.
Okay, here's
my issue. Can't spell believe without Eli.
That's true. I'm not sure about that, but do you realize Eli Manning, with 2 Super Bowl rings, has led this league in interceptions not once or twice, 3 times. And in the non-Super Bowl seasons, you guys have been average at best, mediocre at best, to use your word about my Dallas Cowboys. I don't get it, how inconsistent he can be. Yeah, he can rise to an occasional occasion, but there are so many seasons when he's an also ran. That's what I can't comprehend.
I think a good way to look at it, and the thing as a New York Giant fan growing up and a Chicago Bear fan growing up, is that if you look at that and you say we're either going to win the Super Bowl or we're not going to the playoffs, hey, I'll take that. Because I've been to the championship game 4 times in my career and lost the previous 3. So when we won the NFC Championship game, I lost my mind on national TV. It was the most unbelievable moment of my life. It was better than winning the Super Bowl for me because I'd been so close so many times. And if you look at amazing players like Tony Gonzalez, he never even sniffed the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bailey's in his first.
That's fair. Yeah. Listen, let's talk about the conditions.
6 years, I went 4 times.
Let's talk about the conditions on Sunday. What will it be like kicking in the Meadowlands on Sunday?
It's going to be difficult, and I think it's going to affect more than just the kickers and punters. I think it's really going to affect the offensive coordinator's ability to call long pass plays with Eli Manning. And granted, his average pass play is only averaging 9.3, so he dumps the ball down a lot. So I think you're going to see a lot of intermediate passes, a lot of short passes, a lot of screens. I think Knowshon Moreno is going to get the ball a little bit more, and I think people are putting a little bit too much stock in Knowshon Moreno averaging what he is per game. I mean, he's a 100-yard rush per game, but I think the reason being is you have a quarterback that threw 55 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for 5,400 yards this year. That is absolutely gaudy statistics, and I think that's why he's able to run how he's able to run, because people are, when they're game planning for the Denver Broncos, they're game planning for the pass game, not for Knowshon Moreno.
Over, under, how big will his tears be on Sunday?
I think it'll be very special. I think a cool storyline is Eli Manning goes into Peyton Manning's house, gets his second ring.
I'm talking about Knowshon Moreno. You know the whole story about it. You don't know it. Okay. That was my own private joke. You remember how big his tears were?
That's over my head.
It's over his head.
Crying during the national anthem.
Never made a joke.
It's a special time.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. We're back at Bryant Park. It's time for Carrie's Court. A little well for me. I love it. I paid them to say this. This is Carrie's Court. This is our Q&A for Super Bowl week. You can ask Skip or Stephen A. any questions you like. Right now is Bradley from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Your question is for Skip. What is your question?
Will LeBron end up with more rings than Kobe Bryant?
Ooh, good question. I wish I knew the state right now of Dwayne Wade's knees going forward over the next 3 years, because I still believe in Dwayne Wade. I see flashes of the old Flash. And yet, you and I go back and forth about what we've heard about Dwayne's status. I don't love it. Could LeBron leave after this year and pair up with another superstar? It's possible. So I'm going to say I give LeBron, who's in phenomenal physical shape and seems to never get hurt, I'm going to give him at least as many rings as Kobe. I'll give him the 5.
I'm not going to disagree with that, and here's why. I think LeBron's got a shot to win 2 to 3 more rings. I think he's got a shot to tie Kobe. But I'm going to say something nobody has said. I don't know how much longer the great, unbelievable physical specimen that LeBron James is can last at this level.
Wow.
LeBron is asked to do entirely too much. He's asked to be the premier defender. He's asked to be the primary playmaker. He's asked to be the primary scorer. he's asked to be the primary guy in terms of minutes played. You get to a point where you're asking somebody to do too much. Now, mind you, he's only 28, 29 years of age, 29.
Yeah.
But he's been in the league. This is his 11th year. And even though technology has evolved and what have you, his success is predicated on him being a physical specimen. When I look at a Kevin Durant, I see a shooter extraordinaire. I look at a Ray Allen, a shooter extraordinaire. Those guys tend to last longer. But the guys whose game and success is predicated on athleticism and being a physical specimen don't tend to last as long. I give LeBron about 3 more rings.
All right, that's
tying
fair.
Kobe.
So we have another question. This is Harris from Jersey. First of all, are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, I'm having a good time.
Are you nervous?
No, not at all.
A little bit, okay. This question is for Stephen A. What's your question, Harris?
Is Eli the better big game quarterback than Peyton?
Next question.
Answer the
No.
question.
Seriously, so far he has been. But I don't think he compares overall to Peyton. But so far, if we're being honest, Eli Manning has performed better in bigger games.
I must painfully agree with what you say, because it's not even debatable at this moment. But Eli, Peyton, thanks to Richard Sherman falling out of Super Bowl heaven into Peyton's lap, has an opportunity against the number 1 ranked defense that some people are already making a case is a top 10 all-time defense, has an opportunity to effectively win 2 or 3 Super Bowls in one night next Sunday night. I think beating this defense would vault Peyton into a status that would make this question seem laughable even to you.
It's weird. This is my best friend Anton. He's from Bronx. We go way, way back, right? Okay, well, we won't have to go way, way back. But you have a question for Stephen A.
Stephen A. I want to know why you think Floyd Mayweather is one of the best boxers ever.
Yeah, Stephen A., why?
I think that he's a boxing magician. He's brilliant. And I think that people who chide him or criticize him don't understand the sport of boxing. The objective, everything is not about knockout power. If it was about being a knockout artist, then that would be one thing. But the objective with boxing is to have a skill that enables you to hit people without getting hit. When you look at him as a defensive fighter, he's one of, if not the best we have ever seen in the history of the sport. And overall, his boxing skills are sublime. The difference is that he doesn't have knockout power. So the Mike Tysons of the world would be quick to say he's relatively boring because you anticipate decisions as opposed to a great knockout. But that's the only knock against him. He's incredibly physically conditioned. His defensive prowess is unmatched. And offensively, he's got mad skills. It's just that he doesn't have the power. So I said boxing, not a knockout artist. I think as a boxer, he's one of the best we've ever seen in history.
You know what Floyd's greatest strength is? You mentioned it. His physical conditioning. This man can run forever, and he's been running forever from Pacquiao and now from Timothy Bradley. He can run. Am I right? Yes. Thank you.
Are you finished? Are you finished? Because last time I checked, Floyd Mayweather may have been interested in Pacquiao, but he was put in a coma for about 6 months by Marquez. And as a result, it really didn't matter. And oh, by the way, I don't know what fights you've been watching. Say what you want about Floyd, but he hasn't been running from anybody. They can't touch him. He stood right in front of dudes, and they can't touch him. That's skill. Pay attention.
We leave it there, so pay attention. Victor from BK from Brooklyn has a question for Mr. Bayless.
Who has the advantage on Sunday, Demaryius Thomas or Richard Sherman?
No question, Richard Sherman has a huge advantage here because he is made to cover Demaryius Thomas. Now, if it was a little Antonio Brown, a quicker, slippier receiver, I would give the advantage to Antonio Brown over Richard Sherman. But Richard Sherman can mirror Demaryius, who's 6'3", whatever he is, 220. Richard Sherman is long, he's strong, and he is headstrong. He has catch-up speed to stay with Demaryius running deep. So I think, again, Richard Sherman's in the power position here.
I agree with you, but not for the reasons you articulated. I think that Richard Sherman has an advantage because Richard Sherman plays on an elite defense. If he were Patrick Peterson playing with the Arizona Cardinals and they were one of the ones playing in the Super Bowl, I don't believe that would be the case. But when you've got Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and those boys back there with you, it's a lot easier for you if you're Richard Sherman, because really what it comes down to is all he has to do is his job. A lot of guys in the league can't say that. They've got to do their jobs and somebody else's because their skill set is so elite, they're required to compensate for deficient players on their side of the ball with them. Richard Sherman doesn't have that concern. All he has to do is his job because he's got some assassins in that secondary with him.
So are you saying he's a little overrated because of the people who play behind him?
No, as usual, you're double talking and you're trying to sit there and misconstrue what I'm saying. Richard Sherman can play. I'm not trying to disrespect him by any stretch. I'm simply saying, as was articulated by numerous players that came here, the defense he's playing with is so elite that he has the luxury of just doing his job and not having to make up for other people's deficiencies. That goes a long way to defending somebody like a Demaryius Thomas with Peyton Manning throwing him the football.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Carrie's Corey. Give it up for Skip and Stephen A.
All these talks if he's staying in New York or not, I'm somehow the mastermind behind if he stays or not.
Do you think he will stay?
I definitely think he will stay. I know that he wants to stay.
Welcome back to First Take. This is our final take. Bryant Park crowd rowdy, finishing with a bang as we wrap up the show here. So that was Lala Anthony. That was Lala Anthony, Carmelo's wife, saying that he will stay in New York. Your take on that?
Well, you know, she's obviously his wife. She obviously will have a very, very pivotal role in his decision. But let's stop acting like there needs to be some suspense here. He's in New York City, where he wanted to be. The New York Knicks can give him $30 million more than anybody else, okay? What's there to think about? Evidently, if you're thinking about it, that means you're not sure. And if you're not sure, it forces me to look at the New York Knicks and ask myself, as an organization, why would somebody want to play for them? Considering their ineptitude. The combination of it all leaves the suspense. So when people in his camp, him himself, or anybody else comes across as remotely taken aback or offended by speculation, my response to them is look in the mirror. That would happen to be because Carmelo Anthony said with a big fat smile on his face, I'm looking forward to being a free agent. Okay, that would be on him. So let's call it what it is. I hope he stays. It's not a foregone conclusion that he's gone, but I'm hearing that the New York Knicks haven't been very, very appealing. We see their record as of late, and I don't trust anybody to want to stay with the Knicks. But I know this much. I don't want Carmelo Anthony to go. I want him to stay in New York City because this city should love him. But kind of want to stay.
And I think he should stay in New York City. And I'm going to take to the bank what Mrs. Mello said in that interview.
Mrs. Mello.
Well, seriously.
Yeah.
Because she acted like it's a foregone conclusion. Are we sure Mello didn't say, I'm looking forward to be a free agent just because he wanted to be wanted, wanted to be courted a little bit by the other teams?
But what I'm saying to you, Skip, is that I'm quite sure that had something to do with it. But my point to you is this. You want the money. The Knicks can give you $30 million more. So the point is, if you're looking forward to being courted, when no matter who courts you, they're going to come up $30 million short. What the hell are you looking forward to? It doesn't make any sense. You're a grown man. He's a wonderful dad. He's a wonderful husband. He loves his wife dearly and his family. He can take care of them for life. And the New York Knicks are in a position to give you $30 million more, and you're acting like you need to be pursued. Why are you acting that way? You know why you're acting that way? Because the New York Knicks have been a very struggling franchise right now, and they're not that damn attractive. It's that simple.
Next topic. Former Texans head coach Gary Kubiak has been hired as the Ravens OC. Skip Bayless, your take on that?
Gary Kubiak is another Norv Turner. He is a much better coordinator than he was a head coach. This was a great move by the Baltimore Ravens. Another Ozzie Newsome special. I applaud Ozzie for this move.
I applaud Ozzie. Ozzie's brilliant. We all know he's accomplished, one of the best executives in the business. I have no problem with Gary Kubiak being an offensive coordinator, just so long as he wasn't a head coach. You lose 11 straight games, you collapse on the sideline, you got questionable health because you've been losing and all of this other stuff, and you're going to have another job waiting for you weeks later as a head coach being interviewed. I thought that was ridiculous. This is far more appropriate because you've shown that you weren't winning as a head coach. As an offensive coordinator, you may be brilliant. I applaud this move.
Broncos cornerback Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie says if Denver wins the Super Bowl, he is prepared to retire. Skip, your take.
I don't know what to take from this. He has been saying this consistently all year, so I'm going to have to take this man at his considerable word. He sounds like he's had enough of football and that he, and not his quarterback Peyton Manning, is ready to walk away, especially if they win the football game.
First of all, he can play, but I don't care whether he retires or not. I don't think about him when I think about the Denver Broncos. I know he can play, but so what? If he retires, they'll replace him. But the flip side to it is that it would be wise for him not to take those positions because, as you said, it alludes to having an absence of passion for the game. And if you lose this game, you're going to want to come back and play, and you're going to want to receive a paycheck for playing that game. And I'm not going to be too keen on giving it to you if I'm an owner when you have the attitude that you don't seem that passionate about playing.
When asked about Rex Ryan's extension on Monday, Jets owner Woody Johnson said Ryan was a great coach and added, quote, "You can't beat Rex." Stephen A., your take.
Well, clearly you can beat Rex because Rex has been out of the playoffs the last 3 years.
Oh, so that's a fact.
Clearly a
Wrong
fact
here.
and a lie on the part of Woody Johnson. I'm happy that he was on the show with my man Michael K. yesterday. That was beautiful for ESPN New York, 98.7 FM, by the way, here in New York City. But the bottom line is that I'm a fan of Rex Ryan, but he's got to do a better job. Another year of missing the playoffs are entirely unacceptable. It's been 3 consecutive years that you're out of the postseason. He's lucky to still be a head coach now. I'm happy he's a head coach. I'm happy he's getting another chance. But let's put this in perspective. He hasn't exactly kicked the door in over the last 3 years. As a matter of fact, he's barely knocked.
My translation of this, Woody is saying you can't beat Rex at creating back page headlines in New York City. And that, to me, you rip Jerry Jones saying that making money is more important than winning. I think right now to Woody, making back page headlines is more important than winning, so Rex remains his coach.
Yeah, but Jerry Jones still puts him to shame.
Gentlemen, I thank you. I'm Carrie Champion. That's Skip Bayless. That's Stephen A. Smith. You are a wonderful viewing audience. We have a wonderful crowd. We'll be here all week long. Bryant Park, New York City.